Spyro the Wagon.
Hey everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to Spyro the Wagon. This week's video is going to be a little bit different to our last couple of videos, only because our cat Luna is about to have kittens any day now, and we don't really want to leave her to sort of go through that by herself. But what I thought we'd do instead was get you guys up to speed with Spyro so far and how the journey's been basically since we bought her. It's been a dream, to be honest, for maybe 10 years. For 10 years I've dreamt of having a van, and I sort of financially I just made it impossible for myself. It had to be a T5, it had to have this, it had to have a pop top, it had to have all these things that I was just outpricing myself really. I didn't have the money to go out and buy one, you know. I was viewing vans that were 25,000, 30,000 pound, and I didn't have that sort of money. So I had to be more realistic in the end and think about getting a T4, and that was it. Once I had my mindset on a T4, I was looking all of the time. I was constantly checking marketplace, and then when one came up, this one in particular, it was advertised for 2,400, I think the fella was asking for it. What he was going to do was take it to the scrapyard, basically. He was going to strip all the stuff that was inside and then just scrap what was left. So break it, basically. So when I went to look at the van, it didn't have an MOT. It wasn't the greatest. The bodywork wasn't great. The interior, I got really lucky with the interior because the interior was awesome. You know, it had a rock and roll bed, swivel seat, fridge, hob, a sink. It had all the bits. It had a leisure battery in it, but as you'll find out during the video, the leisure battery and the issues with the electrics weren't too clever, to be honest. And I have a feeling that that's why the van was sold multiple times before I bought it. It was perhaps an issue for a couple of owners and they couldn't figure out what was wrong, and in the end sort of parted ways with it. I offered the fella £2,000, I think it was, after taking a look around. I took a friend down with me and we had a good look through it. I don't really know a lot about engines or anything like that really. I just knew I wanted a van. I took my mate down, he had a listen to it, and he said, yeah, it all sounds pretty good. It was the 2.4 diesel AAB engine, which apparently, you know, as slow as it is, there's not an awful lot that can go wrong, you know. It's either one thing or the other. There's no turbo, there's nothing like that, you know, no complicated parts really. Apparently it's pretty straightforward. So it was a pretty safe bet. There was no real major knock, you know, anything that concerned us. So I offered the guy £2,000 there on the spot, and he was happy to take it. He was happy to take it. So that very same day, because it didn't have an MOT or anything like that, I needed to get it recovered. So an hour or two later, I was back down there with the recovery truck. We got it on the back and we brought it home. And that was it. That was it. The journey started there. From there, I had my work cut out there, and there was plenty for us to do. I got it MOT'd. It was reasonable to get it through an MOT. There was like a drop link needed doing and a track rod end. And that was pretty much it, safety-wise, because there was knocking down on the left side. So yeah, we got the MOT done. Maybe one or two other little things, but nothing major, you know. So it got through the MOT pretty well. They said it'd been under-sealed. It was pretty much rust-free underneath. It was pretty, for his age, it's a 1991, so it's 34 years old. I know worse looking people that are 34 years old, you know, than this van. So I was pretty happy. I knew that I was going to be a bit of a chore to get it all where I wanted it. But that was it. I was on the ladder, you know, and I knew I couldn't, the way I spend money and the way I am, I knew I couldn't have saved up 10 grand to just go and buy a van straight out, you know. I knew I would have been better off buying it for £2,000 and then maybe spending whatever I needed to along the way then, you know, month by month, whenever I had a spare couple of quid, buy what I needed. So we brought the van home, we taxed, insured it. The next thing I was advised to do then was to get breakdown cover, which was a pretty good job I did, to be fair. We got the breakdown cover, it's like £5 a month, so for that kind of money, bargain. So we got a breakdown cover, and we started to do little trips, started to take the kids here and there. We went to St. Fagans for Halloween. Then, come November the 5th, around bonfire night, me and Leonie, we drove down to Quay down in West Wales. We drove there for the night. We found a spot on Park for Night, just a car park. I think it was £8 a night or something like that to park up. And you could camp in the van as well. You were allowed to sleep there. So we drove down to Quay. It was a couple of hours, few hours even. 100-mile run. Got us there with no issues at all, no problems. Got down to Quay. We had a little bit of food. Went out on the town, watched the fireworks. Awesome display. If you get a chance to do it, Quay firework display, phenomenal. Everybody else came home and we were sat there thinking, this is great. We haven't got to go home. We could have a beer or two in town. So that's what we did. We had a few beers with the locals, got back to the van, fell asleep, woke up the next morning with a little bit of an hangover. I went for a little walk on my own. I was viewing dolphins down in the harbour, you know, and I sat there for like an hour taking it all in, thinking, this is what I've been visioning the entire time. In the years I've been thinking about getting a van, it was for those moments. What we had done in the night before, where whilst we were sort of half cut, we'd booked a dolphin trip in the morning with one of the ladies down there. So we had that to look forward to a little bit later on in the day. We did manage to spot some dolphins. It was awesome. It was a brilliant experience. If you get a chance, do it. It was fab. And we made our way home. While we were there, I did take some photos of the van. And when I had a little look at them when I got back, I knew the first thing I needed to do was to change those god-awful bumpers. A couple of days later, a friend of mine asked me, can I take some stuff up to his flat up in Aberdeen? So I drove up as a favour to help him out, dropped some stuff off. And I noticed the stereo wasn't working properly. So I went to leave his house. The van wouldn't start. I had to bump it off his drive, put it into gear, roll it down, boop, bumped it, off I went. And then as I drove from Aberdeen, it was happening again. People flashing me. My lights were on. It was the evening time. My lights were on. What's the problem? Got to a roundabout a bit further down by the hospital. Boom, all power went. And that was it. I was on the side of the road. Hazards on. I had to use my breakdown cover. They were good. Within half an hour, on a cold mid-November evening, he swapped the batteries over and he got me home. First thing I did, I went on to all the websites, all the pages on Facebook, and I asked them about, you know, what could this be, who's the best guy for the job. Somebody pointed me to a fella called Robert, and he is the owner and main man at Classic and Custom Auto Electrics down in Quay. Now, he was fab, in all fairness. He had a good look around it. He figured it out for me. He managed to find out what was going on. My relay fuse had gone, so he wasn't charging himself back up as I drove along. So that 100-mile journey I did down to Quay didn't charge the battery back up at all, which really should have given it a good charge. It was quite a run. So he found this issue for me, the relay. He told me I needed to buy a new relay and then replace the fuse because the relay was shot. I also found out, with a little bit of my own research, that in the glove box, behind the bulb in there, the wires had come out. Somebody must have taken the glove box out at some time and pulled the wires out of the back of the bulb. And the wires had come out and they were sitting on a bit of metal. So every time I turned the key on the ignition, the fuse would go every single time. So that took some finding. That I found it on a forum myself. I was quite proud when I came out and took the glove box off and seen these wires. I thought, this is it. Plugged them in and it's been perfect ever since. By that time, mind, I had bought a new battery for the front and a new leisure battery. So I'd spent a couple of £100 on batteries by that time just to find it was the wire for the light in the glove box. That was it. That was the electric issue sorted. I contacted the boys in, again, I used Facebook with the groups, the Just T4 groups and things like that, and I contacted boys in the Doghouse T4. They're in Tredegar and they're awesome. Like, they are the dogs, in all fairness. They're the danglers. They exclusively work on T4s as far as I'm aware, and there's nothing that they don't know about them. They're right from the early ones right up to, you know, as new as you can get, all the different variants and models, and there's nothing they don't know about them. So they got busy with my T4. I needed an alternator at one time. I bought a steering wheel from them. They fitted a horn for me. The Doghouse boys fitted my diesel eater for me. I bought a Chinese diesel eater for like £100, and then I spent a little bit extra on the like a feeding tube that goes into my fuel tank, and then they fitted all of that for me. and I had it back. Then I took the kids fishing the one day. My tyre completely had perished, it just blew. What I hadn't noticed was obviously these tyres had been on there for quite some time, and even though they had good tread on them, they probably wasn't fit for purpose really. So we'd gone all them miles away without any sort of issues down to Quay, and then my tyre popped going down to the river, the local river by us. By that time, mind, I'd been eyeing up steel wheels. I'd seen a couple of steel wheels on Facebook again and these groups and that, and I really liked the GP steelies from a T5. Unbeknownst to myself, they needed an adapter because the stud pattern was different to what my stud pattern is on the T4. So I think I found these steelies on Facebook Marketplace. Di from the doghouse sent me a screenshot. They were £100. They were sprayed gold and they were £100, immaculate really, with no tyres on them. So I bought them, and then I was holding off to get tyres and things like that because I wanted to do it all in one when I lowered it and done all my bits to it. My tyre popped and it sort of forced my hand. I took my wheels down to the boys in Alcod, that's in Tillabirth by me. I'll put a link on because they're fab. I take my work van there, I take this van, Leonie's Range Rover goes there. You know, them guys, they look after me all the time. Punchers, they're on it, they do it all. So if you need cheap or expensive tyres, whatever you need, these guys can hook you up. So I took them down there, got my 4 tyres, nice low profile ones which were load rated, and we got them on, yeah. By that time as well then, I bought short shocks, springs, 5-inch Faulkners. I found a blog on VW Monkeys and they had it all on there, everything I needed. Initially I bought some springs and thought that would be enough. I had to send them back and then buy everything properly. I think it wasn't cheap, mind. It cost me like the best part of £1,000, probably maybe £800 for all of the bits I needed to actually slam it as low as it is. And it could still be lower, you know, it could still be a lot lower, but it sits nice over the back wheel. The front I could probably take down a touch, but the ride is awesome. The ride's awesome. So I had all my bits ready in a bag. What else did I have? Oh, I had my sliding window. I ordered that. Most of my stuff, except for the things I just mentioned, I got them from VW Monkeys. But most of my bits and bobs, little bits, I was buying from Just Campers. Their quality, like my sliding window, I got from there. We got wind deflectors, little bits, you know, along the way. Anything I needed for the engine when I was doing little bits and bobs here. My lights, actually, I'm not sure about my lights, but I've got my rear lights that I bought. Most of it came from Just Campers, and they were awesome. By that time then, I was ready to take it to the doghouse. I had it booked in. I booked it in November when I first sort of bought it, and they had me booked in for like April, May, since November, so I'd waited quite a while. So by that time I opened the van door up on the side and there was like Christmas in here, you know, there was loads of bits for them to fit and get going with. So they had it for a couple of weeks, I think, if I'm correct. And yeah, they lowered it, they fitted my window, they did everything that I wanted really, and then that was it. It was done in time for the spray. One quick thing we had to do in between was take it a long life to upgrade the exhaust. Mine and Leonie's birthday was in June, and we like to do something together for our birthday. And the plan was like a road trip. We were thinking we're going to go to Scotland for like a 10-day trip around the north coast. But then we decided against it. We thought there'd be a lot of driving. Then it looks like there's a lot of views and things, you know, and we were like, we're all for views and walks and that. But we wanted, for our birthday as well, we wanted something a little bit more fun. So we drove to Amsterdam. And that was probably that definitely was the furthest we've been, and the most nights as well that we've done. It was like 5 nights. The first night we slept in Dover, and then the rest of the week then was straight to Amsterdam the next morning. We had like 4 nights in Amsterdam then before coming home on the Friday. Da-na-na-na-na. It's the motherfucking old double G. Which we drove home all in one day without a hitch. There was no issues at all. The engine runs sweet, everything was perfect, and I was happy. And the very next job then was to get it painted. I've been quoted 5 grand by people, 2.5 grand by some guy close to me. In the end, I found a friend of a friend who paints he paints their rally cars and things. They all do like autograss racing, and he paints their cars. So it was never going to be like a show stopping job. It was going to be a cheap and cheerful, thank you very much, a favour for a friend of a friend. And you know, I wasn't expecting an awful lot, you know. I just wanted it all one colour. I wanted to go mint green, like a peppermint green, and then contrast it with like the black bits. Leonie wanted to go Cadbury purple. So as you can see, we compromised and we went Cadbury purple. So I'm still not 100% how I feel about it, but you know, you've got to play fair, and I've done everything else myself, all the other choices I made, so it was only fair I let Leonie choose. And that's where the name Spyro come from. It's, you know, we've got gold wheels and it's purple. So that wasn't intended from the beginning. I knew in the beginning what kind of style I wanted it, but I had no idea for like after that. So that was it then. Pretty much up to date from there. We had the paint job done and we had it back and we was over the moon. So yeah, then we went to Brecon Jazz. That was Leonie and I and my auntie and uncle. We joined a caravan club. They're great because it was £50 for the year. When we went to Amsterdam, we saved money on the ferry and we also saved money on the Euro camp as well. So it paid for itself after our first trip. We went to Brecon Jazz, £11 a night, and we did 2 nights there. That was awesome. And then the following week then, it was Volkfest, which is where we started vlogging. I bought myself a camera and some bits and bobs. The goal has always been to vlog adventures every time, and just even if we can inspire just other people to, you could do these things for cheap, relatively cheap, you know. That's the goal from now. We're going to make videos. You're all up to date now really with us, the journey up until now, and hopefully from every week going forward we will be making content and we will be going. If there's anything you want to ask us, just ask us in the comments. If you would like to follow us, just like and subscribe, hit the notification bell as well so you do get updates when we drop a video. Follow us as well on Instagram, Spyro the Wagon, and you can message us direct on there. But thanks for listening to the journey so far, and we hope to see you along the way. Take care.